Welcome back to the Soul Searching podcast with the Mindful Physio. Today I am delighted to be joined by Martine Dines, and I have to say, Martine, we've discussed this about doing it, but I was lucky enough to get to speak beside you at an event recently, and I kind of said before we started rolling there that something in me, like, you cracked the whole room open, and I feel like your vulnerability is your superpower at the minute because you have a way of connecting with people that is so special. But I sat there and I was like, oh my God, a little part of me has healed by just listening to you. So I cannot wait for the listener to get to hear your story. You have obviously turned what was the most turbulent, hard time in your life into something that now you do every day and you advocate. And when I first came across you online, I was also sharing Feel on the First, and I was like, oh my God, there's somebody, but who gets it much more than I do. So Martine is a breast cancer awareness advocate. You're working in the area. You're also Superwoman. I feel like you are doing 101 things between like climbing to Everest Base Camp and you're running a marathon, are you? Soon?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know that because you're looking to steal tickets. I was like, I'll ask clients that can't make it.
I'm like, please enter yourself so I can have your ticket.
Me there in clinic, like being like, are you sure you want your marathon ticket? But yes, you are literally doing it all, and I feel like you are the perfect example of somebody who just seizes every day. I would love for the listener to be brought through your story in whatever way you would like to tell it. But from listening to feedback and stuff, it's people's stories that the listener is connecting with the most. So if you wouldn't mind taking us back to where it all began and taking us from there.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on Soul Searching.
Yeah.
It is my pleasure to be here. And yeah, like, it's such a long story and there's obviously so many places that you can start, but I think by starting by maybe looking at like COVID, like the year 2020, because it was so hard for everyone. I think especially for us, and I know a lot of people say, oh, forget the valley out, living in Australia, so hard for you, but it was really hard because we couldn't see our family. We were literally locked in the country. And we didn't know when we were going to see our family. People were passing away all over the world, and it was really like the fear of the uncertainty. What's life going to hold for us? Are we trapped here forever? Like, will we ever see our family? Or is the world going to end? So that was obviously really hard. But was even harder was that we were meant to get married that year.
Oh, I actually didn't know that.
Oh, did you not? So we got engaged in 2018 or 2019, 2018. And then we were meant to get married in 2020 in September, 3rd of September. I know because I have guest books, I have signs, I have everything with the date on there. I had, you know, the robes for mother of the bride, the bridesmaids, shoes, I have my dress, I have absolutely everything.
Oh my God.
All sitting at home. So I've got my dress in Australia and then all the other bits are at home in Ireland with 2020 on there, like September 2020. So we were like so excited, we were getting married, I was training, exercising, like work was going really well. And obviously the world, all this happened in March, and we thought we'll just hold off and see what happens. But then of course we had to cancel the wedding. We couldn't get out of the country, and if we got out, we weren't guaranteed to get back in.
Okay.
And I thought, well, my job's here, my dog's here, my life's here, like, we can't risk that. So all our suppliers were so good, we postponed the wedding till May 2021. And then, you know, very hopeful again. The world was starting to open up a little bit. Australia was obviously closed still. And then it was February of 2021 where I had to make a call again, and I was like, right, I'm just going to cancel everything and not rearrange it, because I thought, third time lucky. Like, it has to happen the third time.
You can't be disappointed again.
No, and I was looking at my dress going, I wonder if I should have just put it on and get married here. Like, what do we do? And I thought, no, I've waited this long now, let's just do it properly and do it how we want to do it. And every time we cancelled the wedding, we went on holiday. So the first time in September, we got a camper van and went up to Byron Bay, because we had to stay in New South Wales. And that was unbelievable. And I was like, this is actually not too bad. You know, cancel a wedding, we'll go on holiday. So I thought, let's go back to where it began in Hamilton Island, where we got engaged. Okay. So we went back to Hamilton Island, and that was so, like, magical, lovely. I think we went on the Tuesday and we were coming back on the Sunday, and on the Saturday, which was the day that I was actually meant to be married, we went to, the farm in Byron Bay, and I remember sitting there, because we're obviously sunrisers.
Yeah.
Like,
big sunrisers.
We were waiting there for the place to open at like 6 o'clock, and I was like, I'm going to ask them for champagne. And he was like, Martine, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. They can't give you champagne. I was like, yeah, but I'm meant to be married today. Like, surely they'll have a rule for me, like an exemption. And I asked the guy for champagne, and I think he thought I had a problem. And I was like, you don't understand, it's meant to be my wedding day. And he says, look, wedding day or not, it's the rules. We can't give you champagne before 11 o'clock in the day. I was like, okay, I'll just have an orange juice, but can I have a champagne glass?
Just even for you.
Just for me, to be like, cheers. And then it was that day I found a lump in my right breast.
On the day you were meant to get married?
On the day we were meant to get married.
Oh, I got shivers.
And it wasn't just one lump. And it's so weird how it happened. Like, we're always on the go on holiday. Like, sunrise, we'll paddleboard, we'll go for hikes. And, like, I will read my book and chill out, but we're always, like, doing something.
Very active, yeah.
And I thought, let's do something really memorable today, because it's meant to be our wedding day. So I booked a helicopter ride to do the reef view.
Yeah.
And Sean's terrified of heights, and I was loving it. I was like, oh, I can't wait to see him, like, absolutely shit himself. And honestly, like, this is no word of a lie, he was on the toilet because he was so afraid. And I was in the room, and I was just chilling out, and I don't know what happened, but my hand just kind of fell to my chest. And I don't know, maybe I was just scratching or rubbing, and I was like, oh, what is that? That was a bit funny when I felt the lump. And then I started like checking thoroughly, and I was like, oh, and what's that as well? So there was 2 lumps that I could feel. And I jumped out of the bed and I ran into him, like, as he was on the toilet, and I was like, can you feel that? Like, am I imagining something? And he was feeling, and he went, oh yeah, I've never felt that before, like, obviously. He's like, I've never felt that before either. And I could see there and then his mind just tick, 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 ticking. And I thought, I'll go to the doctors when I go home. Okay. Like, let's not let this disturb. Today. You're getting on that helicopter.
Yeah.
Like,
there's no excuse.
No excuse, you're getting on that helicopter. And I thought, like, because I would have quite small breasts anyway, and I thought it was, you know, when you first get puberty and you have a lump in between your breast, and it's like that little hard thing that, like, starts to get sore. I thought, well, I think that one of them is that. It's just that little lump that you get. Maybe I'm hitting puberty when I'm like 29.
Okay.
And then the other one, I was like, it feels like a cyst or something, like around your nipple.
Okay.
Just right on, you know, where the coloured part of your nipple is.
Yeah.
And I honestly parked it in my head and thought, let's go enjoy the helicopter ride. And then as we were on the helicopter, I made Sean get in the front so he could see everything that was happening, and I sat at the back. And I remember my hand kept going to my chest and feeling what I had felt, and I was like, is it there? That is there. Okay, we'll think about it later.
Okay. Went
off the helicopter, amazing experience, went for food, really enjoyed our last night. And then the second day was when we were travelling home, and I remember sitting in the airport in Hamilton Island. We had a delay, and I seen the Inspired Unemployed. I was like, whoa! Buzzing to seeing them. And then this thought just came into my head at the same time: book your doctor's appointment. So I jumped online, HotDoc, and booked the appointment for Monday morning. Now, I used to be a very much a rule keeper. Like, if this is the rule, this is what you do.
Okay.
And I was down inside because I thought, you can't work from home after a holiday. Like, you just can't do it. Like, my boss is going to kill me. He won't believe me. He'll think I'm still on holiday. He thinks I just don't want to go back to work. But I broke the rules for that day, and I remember texting him, and I still have the messages saying, hey, sorry to disturb you on a Sunday night, but I have a doctor's appointment in the morning. I'll work from home. I know it's not allowed, but I have to go to this doctor's appointment. There was me thinking I was a little rule breaker. And I remember Sean, he actually rang in sick to work that day as well. Okay. Now, he's a contractor, so he just obviously texted his boss to say, look, I can't come in. And I remember going, you are so dramatic. Oh my God, anything for you to take more time off work. And we went to the doctor's anyway, and as I was walking into the doctor, one of my best friends was coming out because we go to the same GP, and she was like, oh, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, just, coming to see the doctor or whatever. And because Sean was with me, I think she thought we were maybe pregnant because she was also pregnant at the time, and she was like, oh, yeah. I was like, oh, if only you knew why I'm here. And within, I say, 2 seconds of me being in the GP, she got me to lie on the table and she felt my breast and she examined both breasts under my arm, my collarbone, and she just stood up and says, yep, I think we'll go and get you a scan.
Okay.
Just for peace of mind. And I remember thinking, okay, great, just peace of mind. Perfect, because otherwise I'd be thinking about this the whole time. And she says, but I want you to go now. And I was like now? Like, I only have 20 minutes for a lunch break. Like, I'm really pushing the boat here with the boss. And she says, no, I want you to go now. We'll get you in there urgently. And I heard her on the phone saying the word urgent. And I thought, just be calm. She's very proactive. She's a really good GP. And that's why she's pushing this. And I came out of the room and Sean was like, well, and I was like, oh, I have to go up the spectrum here for an ultrasound. And then again, I could see his head ticking. And we walked up the spectrum because it's all in Rantwick, so convenient, and went in. And you know, you examine the radiographer's face. I was just examining her face. And I remember like stretching my neck so far to try and see
what she was
seeing. I mean, I don't know what I was seeing, but I was like taking mental images, like snip, 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 what if she can see, what am I going to see then? What can I Google basically when I go home? And she was a bit like, you know, that face that they make, the medical professional, and I thought, why are you making that face at me? Like, please tell me everything's fine. And she says, your GP will get the report. So then that night I got a text message, your report is complete. And I thought, oh my God, that's so quick, like brilliant. She's going to call me tomorrow. I'm going to go into work tomorrow and everything will be fine. And again, get up as normal, walk Bruno down for Sunrise. And I can't remember where Sean was at the time. Oh, he went with me to Sunrise. And I says, right, I'm going to walk back up here and I'm going to get ready for work. But as I was walking back up to work, I thought, I'm going to ring my sister, my big sister. And I started telling her about the holiday and about everything. And then I told her about the lump. And then I just bawled crying.
Oh, it was everything you had like built up as well.
Yeah, because you know, you're trying to be so strong for everybody else. And she was like, Martine, like I get lumps all the time. She's had children. She was like, it could be hormonal, it could be anything, but you done the right thing. And then she says, but don't go to work. And I was like, don't go to work 2 days in a row. I'm going to get sacked. And she's like, just don't go into work. And I was like, do you know what? I actually don't think I can go into work. Like, I just don't think I can. So I walked back down to the beach and I thought, I'll ring my boss at 9 o'clock, tell him I can't come in. This is the reason why. And I got a call from the GP at 7 in the morning. And I thought, why is she calling me at 7 a.m? And she just said, like, the report came back, it doesn't look, it's not clear what it is, so I want you to have a biopsy.
Wow.
I was like,
this
right,
is all
okay.
happening so quickly as well for you to wrap your head around.
So quick, it hadn't even been 48 hours.
Yeah.
And then the GP said, I want you to go in urgently. So I'll be in touch with the time. And then everything was like snowball effect. She got me in the next day and I remember having the biopsy. And you know, like, they have to numb you, they're putting needles in, there was a lot of blood everywhere. And then they also before they had the biopsy, we also want you to do a mammogram. Have you ever had a mammogram?
No, but they're meant to be awful.
I mean, I didn't have any breasts to begin with, and I was trying to put back fat and everything into this machine because it was like just clumping your breast. I mean, it is uncomfortable for a very short space of time, but I was like, my boobs aren't even that big. Like how am I actually meant to put my boobs into this machine? Like, it just doesn't work. I was trailing my whole skin around and, you know, hold it there, like whatever, 2 minutes, and then they done the other side, and then they brought me in for the biopsy, and I just remember bawling, crying on the bed. And you know when they call another GP in to have a look, and then they call another GP in, and I was like, I know it's not good news, but I kept saying to myself, you're brave, and this is benign. And I always was prepared for, look, it's benign, but you need surgery. It's benign, but we want you to do something else. I was always prepared for a but, and I would go further, but it had to be benign in my head. You're brave and you're benign. You're brave and you're benign. Or it's benign. And I remember coming out of the after the biopsy, and you've got like all these plasters all over you, and everything's sore, and then you have to go and pay for this while pay for your thing that you just had, your scan and your biopsy, and the whole room was filled with pregnant women who were getting to have really lovely experiences with their partners. And I just remember bawling and crying, so much so that I couldn't even pay for the thing, and Sean was behind me, and I remember just running off and throwing him my phone, and I ran into the toilets, and I was like, how is this happening? Like, this just can't be happening. And I come back and Sean was in a fussle and he didn't know what to do, and he had a Medicard and he had all these things, and I just remember like finishing the payment and walking out, and we just didn't really speak about it then. We just thought, let's put it behind us, but I'm not going to work for the rest of the week. Told my boss what had happened. He says, of course, take your time. And my GP rang me and she says, I'm going to put in an appointment for 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, and we'll definitely have your results by then. So this was the Wednesday, and I knew I would get my results on the Saturday. So the Thursday and the Friday, we done like, what do we love to do? We were just kind of like a bit lost. Like, I was 29, Sean was 32 or 33. I'm just a bit lost about what we're meant to do. Oh, actually, in between them, Sean had his birthday.
Oh, God.
So we went whale watching that day, of course.
Standard.
And then the other day we also went and done a walk. We went for like cakes and buns and things in the city. Like, we're not even into those things. We were just trying to like get out of Randwick and get out of...
Distract
ourselves,
yeah.
But also kind of distract us from other people as well, because only a few selected friends knew what was happening.
Okay.
Because you don't want to tell many people, because you're like, I don't want to make a big scene because I know it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then went into the GP on Monday morning. Bear in mind, in between me calling my sister and then having a biopsy, she had told my mum, because she says, like, this has gone too far, you need to tell your family what's happened. So she sat the family down and told them what happened. And the Friday night in Ireland, which was our Saturday morning, they had set up and done the rosary all night long, just praying that everything was going to be fine.
Oh, God.
I know, it's
so Irish, but so gorgeous as well, isn't
and
it?
we're not, like, I know I wear reckless metal. My mum bought me this to keep me safe since all that happened, and I just keep it on me ever since, because I'm like, I can't take this off, because what if something happens? But we're not like a religious family, but I think that's just an Irish thing. When these things happen, you turn to faith and you just pray and you hope that everything's fine.
Yeah.
So they were doing the rosary, and went into the GP, and she had actually called someone in just before me, and she looked over and she went and waved, and I thought, oh my God, it's brilliant news. And I looked at Sean and I was like, did you see that? And he says, yeah, I think it's going to be fine. I was like, oh, I think it's going to be fine too. So then the next 10 minutes we were like really, really hopeful that everything was fine. And as soon as we walked in, I didn't even have a chance to sit down. And she says, I'm sorry, it's cancer. And I was like, what?
You just were not expecting that.
And, you know, an outer body experience, that was the first outer body experience. And I mean, I can still see it. I know exactly the way the room was, what was sitting in the room. I was here, Sean was here. My outer body experience, I was like sitting in the corner of the room. I could see the doctor and I could see everything that was happening. And I remember saying to myself, oh my God, that poor girl just got cancer diagnosis.
Oh my God.
But it was me
Yeah.
the whole time. I could see the back of my head, I could see Sean, I could see his hand on my back, and I can hear myself cry.
Oh my God, it was full out of body, like you're observing yourself.
Completely out of body, like just in the corner, and I just thought, like, that's so unfair. Really, really unfair. And you know, the first question I asked was like, am I going to die? Am I going to lose my hair? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And all she knew was the biopsy came back as positive for cancer. And she says, look, I've been proactive and I have booked you in already to the breast clinic. Your appointment's on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Can you make it? And that was it. Like,
that was the beginning.
That was the beginning, but also the beginning of the end, because it was like, you know, this is the start of you. This is the end of who you were, and this is the start of what you're going on. But it's also the end of the unknown as well. Like, there was just so many emotions.
Yeah.
The worst feeling was bringing family.
Of course.
And telling them that.
And you're so far away.
Yeah. And it was still COVID as well. So it was just like, I was like, give me back the problems of COVID and a cancelled wedding.
Yeah.
I can handle all that, but this is just too much. I always say the 3 C's: COVID, cancelled wedding, and cancer. And then my mummy was like, you know, let's not, it doesn't even deserve to, thank you, it doesn't even deserve to be called cancer, we're just calling it the bastard. And you know, we always try just to, as we do in Ireland, we always try just to make fun and jokes about all these things that happen, and it was just like survival mode then, like what's next, what do we do? But my mum was like, I have to get over to see you, like I have to get there. I was like, I don't know how it's going to happen, mummy. Like, parents weren't considered immediate family.
Okay.
And I was like, how is parents not immediate family? If I'm not an immediate to my mother, then who am I?
Yeah.
Like, but what they seen it was, if I had kids, then that child is my immediate family, but my mother's not.
Okay.
Like, it works both ways. Like, do you all need to go to biology and work out how we reproduce? Because my mother's my immediate family.
Yeah.
And from 10 days of having my first appointment at the breast clinic, I was in to have a mastectomy, my first mastectomy. They took off my right breast. And honestly, like those days in between, I don't really felt like I cried much. It was like straight into survival mode and fight mode, and you know, what do you do to get past this? Friends were calling around. My apartment was like a florist. There was just flowers. We actually had to start giving flowers away to the neighbours because there was just so much, and strangers were coming up to me. My friends became my family, strangers became friends. And I think people really sympathised because of the cancelled weddings, because of COVID, and then just because like Sean was such a big person in the community already at that stage with the drone shots and the wheels and all that. And people just really like rallied around us, and it was just like a hug without a hug from everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, 10 days I had my first mastectomy. They went through the results and they actually found 3 tumours instead of 2.
Wow.
And they also says, we're really sorry, but it's spread your lymph nodes, so you need to come in for more surgery. And you know, that's obviously not a great prognosis that your cancer has spread. And they were worried it was on my chest bone. And if it had been on my chest bone, that was me stage 4.
Wow.
So they scanned and scanned and scanned, and the chest bone came back clear, but the lymph nodes were positive. So I had to go in and have all the lymph nodes removed under my right arm. And then I went for IVF. So they harvest eggs, and like they predicted I would have around 20 eggs or so because of the scans before. But I only had 5. When I woke up from surgery, I had this little 5 on my hand, and I was like, what does that mean? There should be 25. Were they missing a number off that? So they offered me another round of IVF, but my body just wasn't responding. It was obviously too much stress under the body. And so they told me I had to cancel my injections. And they says, we can't prolong this anymore, you have to go in for chemotherapy now. So I had 5 months of chemotherapy, lost all my hair everywhere, so sick, like really, really tough. Then I had to go in for radiation, and I went every single day for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And through all this happening, we found out our family have the BRCA gene, which means that we are 65% risk of having breast cancer in the first place, which was a massive blow as well, because then I thought, well, what about my parents? One of my parents have to have it. What about my sisters? I've got 3 nieces. They all need to be tested. It also means I have to have my left breast removed. It means I have to have my ovaries removed. And it's just an ongoing, constant thing that you have to be aware of. And then I had my left breast removed in October. And I feel like since I've had my left breast removed, obviously I still have further surgery. I'm going to have my implants changed. I need to have my ovaries out. But I feel like since then, October, 2022 I've been able to finally move on, or like make changes, or like just kind of, that feels like that journey, that was the end of that journey, and I've now started another journey, which is soul searching, I suppose, and just trying to move on from that and feel more human again. Like, it's hard because people say, you know, you pick up your life from where it was, which is really hard, but you actually don't. You have to create a new life, and you really grieve the person that you used to be. Like, you know, I was like not a care in the world, I had a great job, I was fit and healthy, and, you know, we were meant to get married, we wanted to have kids, we wanted to have property, and that person, I've had to let her go. And then I've had to kind of create a new person, a new identity. And I remember writing a post on Instagram, and I was like, this will not define me. Like, cancer won't define me, and it doesn't define me, but it's definitely influenced the person that I am today.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to kind of get your head around it, but a little bit of me is a bit grateful for that experience, because I do feel like I'm a better person today. I've experienced so many things over the last couple of years, and I'm truly happy right now. Of course, there's other things that always happen, and I've always got the fear, and I've got side effects. I'm in menopause at the minute, which is not nice at all. You know, I don't know if I can ever have children in the future. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I just know that I'm just trying to make best with what I've got.
Yeah. And it's unimaginable, because most of us don't ever think it'll be us until your hand lands on your breast and you're like, there's something there. And you, like you said, it all changed. And yeah, I can completely see the grief that must come with it. But I don't know, you've empowered yourself within it as well, Martine, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Within that whole journey, was there any point where you had to dig? Obviously, most days dig really deep, but is there a point, like the out of body that you remember in the doctor's office, is there a point where you really had to dig deep to make it through?
Yeah, I think it definitely comes and goes in waves, and I'm not saying it was easy.
No, I can't.
By no means, but it's so weird. The year of 2021, I was like so pissed off with the world about COVID and cancel weddings and all that. I remember getting this tiny little book from the shop, a little leather book, and every single night from the 1st of January 2021, I wrote down 3 things that I was grateful for. And it was as if my future self knew what was ahead of me, and it was like, it was starting the mindset game from the very start of 2021. And I just tried to like keep implementing all the things that I knew was good for me throughout the whole experience. And days I did have to really dig deep, and I may have not had a smile on my face, but I done what I wanted to do that day. So like, I remember the first time I was able to go for a walk after chemotherapy, and I was like, you take a walk for granted so much, but by digging deep and been able to like get myself, it didn't matter what I was wearing, by the way, like I just put on anything and just got outside the front door and was able to walk to the corner of the street like it was a massive goal. And being able to do those tiny little goals helped me to like push even a little bit further the next day and a little bit further the next day. And I still do my gratitude every single night. Like, I was grateful some days that I had no hair because I was ready in 10 minutes. I didn't have eyelashes. I had tattooed eyebrows on. You washed your face and you put on a bit of BB cream and that was you. Like, what else could you do? There's nothing else that you could do. I never had to shave my legs, didn't have to shave my armpits. Like, there are other benefits, and I was grateful for that some days. And you don't really know how strong you are until strong is the only option that you have. And by giving myself little tasks like that, it was kind of like assertive and reassuring myself that you can do hard things. And by just tiny little steps every single day, you're getting closer towards the end of this whole journey, this whole experience. Like having a shower. Oh my God, like a shower was like a real task because,
so taxing.
Getting in there, washing yourself, looking at your body, looking in the mirror, coming out, putting your cream on, like wee things like that was so hard to do because I was physically sick and I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror. I wanted to smash every single mirror in the apartment. And then like putting clothes on, like it was so hard. I can't even explain how hard it was, but it was just really, really difficult. I remember the smells. My poor family, I got chemo on a Tuesday, and on a Wednesday, on a Tuesday, Sean and my parents used to get charcoal Charlies because they were like, we can't cook because Martine can't smell anything because she'll be sick. And they used to literally like either eat outside the apartment or bring it in and eat really, really, really quick, and then like put all the rubbish away and clean everything up so I couldn't smell nothing because every smell used to make me vomit. But it was a real goal for me to be able to sit in the living room when they were eating. Like that used to be a goal of mine. Like just sit there with your family, let them eat, and you could just sit there and have a conversation with them. Or like my diet consisted of everything bland, plain, like pancakes, chips. So I try to be really healthy and put peas on the plate. My mum used to say, the thought of making you chips and peas used to like make her stomach curdle. But that was the only thing that I could eat.
You could stomach, yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I could stomach. So yeah, just being able to dig deep on some days for small tasks. I knew that like I could dig deep other days. And don't get me wrong, some days I was like, I would flag the cancer card and I was like, you know, F everybody, F the world, I want to do Veda, I want to sit here and do nothing. And my parents and Sean would be like, oh, do we push her? Like, do we push her today, or will we just let her have a day? And my mummy was always, just let her be, just let her lie in bed, like just let her have Netflix. And Sean's like, no, she has to walk and she has to drink and she has to do this, she has to do that. And it was the combination of that that helped me get through.
You need a balance as well.
Needed a balance.
Yeah.
And like now that I'm out the other side, like I've started to realise little things that happened. Like Sean used to absolutely torture my mummy, crucify her, murdered her, like literally murdered her, had her on the ground, legs in the air, trailed her around the apartment, beat her up every single day. Now my mum's 60.
Yeah.
And looking back, I used to be buckling laughing, and he says like, I only done that, like your mother was like at the short end of the straw because I just done that for you to laugh. And she knew that as well. She was broken inside, like her body was in agony, but because it made me laugh, they done it. I was like, how lovely is that? Like looking back on all these things that everyone was doing for me that helped me get through it.
They would have done anything.
And it's so hard because then I think, well, what did I do for them to help them get through it as well? And as a patient, you don't want to be a patient. I didn't want to be a patient, so I always thought, well, what can I do that's just going to help everyone else? And a lot of the time I would have held in a lot of stuff.
Really?
Because you already feel like a burden. You already feel like an issue, a problem. Like as we walked home from the doctor, when I got diagnosed, I told Sean to leave me. I was like, you don't have to stay with me.
Oh, Martine. And that's that first instance of that burden, feeling or fear.
Yeah, well, I thought like he has chosen obviously me to spend the rest of his life with. We're meant to get married. You know, he wants to have children, and all that is like in a split second, all that has been completely gone. And so he deserves to have a wife, and he deserves to have a child and a normal life. And he was just like, why is that, would you? You know, like the normal Irish way. He's like, stop getting all philosophical and stop getting emotional, like I'm not leaving you, like we're here together and we're going to get through this. And I think that's why we haven't rushed to get married, through sickness and in health. Like we've shown that we are meant to be together.
Yeah, it's only another certificate. It's the real testament of love and of I suppose just devotion to each other. That didn't matter, of course he was there, but that feeling from you is just selfless, isn't it?
Yeah,
you're like, I'm in this, but you don't have to be in it with me.
I was like, leave me be. Hang me out to dry, like,
and he
you don't
wouldn't
have to go through this
ever.
Yeah, so that was a bit hard, but the things that you hold back from that you want to do to protect your family, and that's where I really find like journaling like so therapeutic. All those negative thoughts that you felt, I would just write them all out on the journal, like get all my dark thoughts out there. And like you look in the mirror and you think, like, I'm probably going to die here. Like, and how sad is it that I haven't done everything in life that I want to do? And then you start thinking about, you know, I'm 29, hopefully my future husband is showering me, learning how to braid, putting on my socks. You know, he still loves me for who I am, even though underneath my clothes my body is completely butchered. And you just think, like, how can you protect those people that you love, and how can you move on from this? And I think that's just really given me drive to, like, just really value life and really just do everything that you want to do in life. Who cares what anyone else says? Like, if someone had said to me, you're going to get cancer and then you're going to climb Everest Base Camp and you're going to do half marathons and you're going to then do hopefully a full marathon, you know, that never would have crossed my mind. But I know how close to death that I was given a diagnosis of cancer. And I think that's a fear that we all think, that if you get cancer you're going to die. Like what you would have experienced in palliative care. You get cancer and you die. The thing is, we do all die. We all die at some stage. So, like, why be afraid of that? I am afraid now that I'm not taking off everything in my life that I want to do. And I'm just a bit, you know, probably pissed off with myself that it took a cancer diagnosis for me to leave the job that I was in to start doing the things that I wanted to do, like train, like book a holiday to Nepal. Put myself out there, start new courses, start talking on podcasts and like speeches and things like that. So I feel like I've been able to just make a really shitty situation a lot easier, and it definitely has given me a purpose. Now, would I have loved to have kids, be married, have the house that I wanted, drive the car that I wanted, and not have a care in the world? Absolutely. Well, not a care in the world, because you obviously have cares after that and different pressures. But what's the point of still grieving that person that I could have been, instead of just putting all that energy into what you can be now and just try and make a positive outcome for everybody?
That's a testament to your mindset, Martine. Like, I think even how you opened with that, so like cancelling the wedding, COVID kind of trapping you guys out here, that's the worst imaginable thing for a lot of people. And then, as you said, the third seed to come in and completely knock you, for you to then take it and be like, okay, well, this just makes me a hell of a lot more grateful for everything. I can imagine your gratitude lists are glowing now.
Yeah.
And I suppose I've maybe seen the other side of it and like help shower people or like the things that people pick. I was only thinking about this yesterday when that word death is something that, you know, it's not way in the future, that you've a fear that it's coming sooner than you think. The things that people pick to do are always so simple. They're so meaningful. It's nothing extravagant. It's nothing like, you know, when we have all the opportunity and all the money and everything in the world and we're still not happy. It always made me think of that. And just hearing you say like it's using your body in a way that you couldn't use it when you were sick. And yeah, I just think for anyone listening, it's so refreshing, I suppose, as well. Like, you've gone through something that is unimaginable for a lot of us, but what you're doing now is just so inspiring for so many people. It's incredible. Do you ever wish, like, I do a lot of, I suppose, like inner child work, or going back and like sitting with yourself at a tough time, and now you're mindset coaching and doing life coaching. Do you ever sit and think what you'd say to Martine that maybe needed to say it out loud, and all the frustration and the anger and the pain and everything that was coming up while you were protecting the people closest to you? Like, they're trying to make you laugh, but you're probably going through a whole experience on the inside. Is there something you'd say to her in that moment?
Yes and no, because I feel like what I done was best case scenario
At the time.
And if I had a chance, I would do it again, because I didn't want them to hear what those thoughts were, because firstly I could tell someone else. They didn't need to know exactly. And then I didn't want to spiral them, because if I'm strong, they're strong, and if I'm weak, they're weak.
They're looking at you to see.
Yeah, my mummy always says, like, she got a lot of strength out of me during that time because she seen how strong that I was. And it's like a double-edged sword. So I remember writing this in my journal, and I remember mummy saying, like, I just see how, and obviously I love my mummy, and she was not to know anything, and I spoke about this to a therapist after, but she kept saying, I got my strength from you because you're so strong, Martine. Like, I don't know how you're doing this. And then my wall was building up. So the only thing that I can be is strong.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can be, and I can't be weak in any shape or form. And so when I did feel myself wanting to be weak, I just had to suck it up and get on with it. But I was able to tell, like I said, my journal, I went to a kinesiologist, I went to Reiki, I went to a psychologist, I went to a counsellor, I went to everybody, and I released all of that.
Amazing.
But just not down the channel that they could see.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what it's getting at. Was there a way for you to, I suppose, let it off as well? Because I can't imagine, like, you're going through it, but you're holding everyone in it as well. Yeah. And I know that feeling of walking into a room and watching the family watch the patient to see, like, how are we today, but like everyone's just co-regulating and reading each other, and when the patient is strong, everyone's there with them. But is there anything you would say, there's probably people listening who are supporting somebody who may be facing a cancer diagnosis or just illness in general. Is there something you would say to people who are the support network, the carer?
That the patient wouldn't be a fraction of what they are without the support. Like, you 100%, you need your support, and if anything, those people were, you know, the healthcare system needs to focus on the support as well as the patient, because the patient has everybody at their fingertips. I click and people are there. You know, the support people are often forgot about, and it's so unfair, because often they're the one that either are left with a heartache if the person doesn't survive, they're left with the trauma, and they're a bit clueless what to do. Like, we don't know how to look after someone who's going, like, in palliative care. Like, how do you look after someone at the end of their life? We're not taught this. What to say, what to do, how to support. No, and it's so hard. And they'll always say it's never a burden. Like, they, you know, even you said that at the start, they're like, it's never a burden, I love them so much, of course, but the actual emotional turmoil that it creates for someone, it's huge, because you're the one fighting, like, you can do it, but it's helplessness. It's hard to watch, for sure. And I'd say, as a, you know, that's also for healthcare professionals. Like, they are looking after patients. They're the people that you need to always focus on and have at the front of your mind. I remember at the Cancer Survivorship Centre here in Randwick, they asked me would I do, like, this campaign for them, and anything they asked me to do, I was like, yep. Like, if I can put my face, my mug on the front of anything you need, just do it, because I want to support you. And they put it on about the Survivorship Centre, and I remember saying, like, well, what is in there for your support? Like, what have you got for support patients? Like, support carers, because without them, the patient wouldn't be a fraction of what they are today. And, you know, there's not much that they can do. They offer some counselling, they offer this, but, like, get those people into a room, you know, maybe learn them a holistic way that they can look after themselves. You know, a carer can sit down and do a bit of breath work with the patient, or, like, a bit of meditation, or just going for a walk, like, understanding what's good for them. Yeah. Do not forget about them, because they are so, so important. Yeah. I know, because I mean, you're right, it's the complete support system, and it's all aspects of that. Did it change anything between yours and Sean's relationship? Oh yeah, like, I think, like, I'm madly in love with him. Like, he's just everything. It's a bit cheesy to say, but I think in life, we all go through, like, you obviously want to find your soul partner in life, And regardless of cancer, COVID, cancelled weddings, anything, you always have to re-fall in love with that person, because we obviously change as a person. I have dramatically changed as a person, physically, mentally, like everything about me has completely changed. And he wouldn't be normal if he didn't have to learn to love me again. And the same with him. He's completely changed as a person, and I've learned who he has become. And I love him because of what he's done for me, and he loves me for what I've done for him. Like, it's like this two-way thing. And if we didn't have a cancer diagnosis and all that in between, like, I'd say we still would have to fall in love with each other, because we have changed. I'd say we're definitely resilient, and what the young 29 of me wanted from a relationship is completely different now. Like, I know what a relationship is, and it's a partnership, and it's a lifelong commitment. And some days I can only give him 5%, and I need 120% from him, and vice versa. And it's not half, and it's not split down the middle. I think I was Little Miss Independent, bossy boots, knew it all. Like, that's the type of person I used to be. And for me to depend on anybody, Kiva, oh my God, it used to kill me.
Wow.
For me to not be able to, like, I don't know, something small, like, I don't know, make my own lunch or like shower myself. Or back then it was, if I wasn't able to, you know, go to the gym, have my social life, have like date night, all these things, like, I was like, no, I have my own life, and I have this and I have that. For me to then completely throw everything out and just depend on this person to do everything for me, it was so difficult.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
And I would try and do things myself, and I would feel miserably. Like, one thing I always wanted to do was change the bed sheets myself. I was like, it's my sick on there, it's my sweat on there. I've been laying in that bed for 3 days, I want to change the bed sheets. And Sean would be like, no, you're not doing it. You can't do it. And we'd fight over something like that. Like, I just want to be able to do something myself, and being able to let go of that was so hard. But having a supportive partner like him, and you're also thinking as well, like, I don't want him to see me this way, because what if he doesn't love me anymore? And you know, it was really difficult too, when you were going through that, and you were baldy, and you were swole up with steroids, and you didn't look like yourself. I had the worst eye infections in the world. My eyes were like swollen, like out of my head, and they weren't white, they were completely red. And we were down at the beach, and I had a big sun hat on, I had a big t-shirt on, I was completely covered, factor 50 all over, with a big water bottle. And we were sitting at the beach with a group of friends who are all absolutely stunning girls in bikinis, you know, perfect bodies, thong bikinis on, like all these. And I remember going, automatically comparing myself, like, he could be with any one of these girls, why is he with me? And sometimes that can come out in other emotions towards your partner. Like, I would probably nitpick at him and talk and say like little comments, and he was always just like, I know this isn't you talking. And he would just bring me back to reality. And sometimes at that stage, all I needed was a hug, a kiss, a touch, like, you know, someone to say something really nice to me, like him to say like, I love you no matter what you look like or who you are. And we had to learn all that.
Yeah, of course.
Without any guidance in this world. You know, my love language completely changed, what I needed from him completely changed. And now we're at a stage where like everything is so comfortable. You know, we have all these conversations that need to happen, that probably something that I would shy away from before. And ironically, when we were meant to get married, we were going to get married in the Catholic Church. So to do that, you had to do a course in the Catholic Church to be married. And we learned skills there that we still use to this day. And they have helped us massively throughout this whole experience. Like, when someone is annoyed about something, and you know, your partner doesn't see exactly why you're annoyed about something. So say something so simple like not taking the bin out because you were cooking and you couldn't put something in the bin. And this technique that we would use, I would say, Sean, I've asked you to take the bin out 3 times and you've said in 5 minutes. I feel like you're not helping me, and I'm really under pressure in the kitchen to try and get this done. Like, something so simple like that. And I said, it makes me feel like you're just not putting your weight, and I'm doing everything. And it's making me feel really frustrated. And what he has to do then is repeat exactly what you say, because the thing is, in an argument or in a conversation, you're always thinking about the next thing that you're going to say, that you don't listen to the person. So Sean would then say, okay, you're annoyed because I'm sitting here scratching my backside, you're in the kitchen doing everything, and you've asked me to do a simple thing that I can't do because I'm being lazy, and you feel this way, and I'm sorry. And it's like, why is this so simple but so significant,
so effective?
Yeah. And like, we don't argue.
Yeah.
Like, we never argue.
Well, it's because your communication has improved so much.
Massively, because we always think they should know everything. And the thing is, like, they don't.
No.
We are raging with emotions and hormones, and half the time we don't know what we want. So how do we expect them to know what we want?
Yes.
And it's just by communicating and breaking down small things. And I think the influence of small things, we just don't know how big that they can become.
Yeah, I say that to Aaron all the time. It's the little things he does to make my life easier constantly that, you know, on the whole I might not always recognise, but when I lie in bed at night and I'm like, oh, today was like 20% easier because of little things that he thought to do, I'm like, oh, that's a love language in itself.
Yeah.
It also sounds like within that whole cancer journey, you were extremely tested with anything that like may have been a behaviour before. So even like control, let's say, and then having to depend on people. So many people I know are listening and being like, I would struggle with that. Like, I would struggle not to be independent. I would struggle to let down the walls, to surrender, to just receive. Like, I see a lot of people in for Reiki and breathwork who massively struggle with that. But it's this thing of like, you deserve to be held in your time of need as well. And honestly, I met Sean before I ever met you, and he speaks about you all the time, whether you know that or not. But the way he speaks about you and the admiration and the love, and he would say, I don't know if he killed me for saying it, but how the whole experience massively changed him as a person as well. And that like the way he looks at you, and just this, like, I can't even describe the level of love, but it's like that. He didn't care through any stage what you looked like or what was happening. It was just you. He just loved you. And obviously now you're out the other side and you're celebrating life and you're enjoying it, and all the little things are so meaningful. But when people meet, either of you separately or together, I feel like every time one of you sits down in conversation, everyone's just like in listening to on the floor, because it's you're so wise. I mean, you've been through all of this, and it's what people, I was only picking this up from people towards the end of their life who had like long lives and for the most part got to experience it and then share this wisdom on. But what you're doing in every day now, advocating and raising awareness, but then also seeing Sean like grow with you and go with you, and it's amazing, because it would break some people if the bond wasn't strong enough. You see that when people have sick kids, or you know, things happen in families, and life is going to happen, but it's your response to it, and you're both so resilient. It's
definitely incredible. How you react. Like, you can't control what happens, but you could control how you react. And I know that's not a one brush for everyone, and I know that I'm incredibly grateful that my journey and someone else's cancer journey can be completely different, and my prognosis and their prognosis can be completely different. And unfortunately, people are terminal when they first find out they have cancer at the very start, and my heart absolutely bleeds and breaks for those people, because I just think like it's survivor's guilt as well. Like, of course, you feel so guilty. I'm so happy that I am where I am, but I feel so guilty that people aren't okay after as well. And you just think, like, why can't we all just go through it and come out the other end the same? Like, why do people have to lose their life? I met a girl who, through breast cancer treatment, who unfortunately her life is completely different from mine right now, and she is terminal and she is struggling really, really bad. And part of me is like, oh, you know, sometimes I don't want to say a lot of things because I don't want someone like her to see it and to be like, oh, well, why is that not me? And then I have to think, if you were in that position, would you want other people to live and to spread awareness? Yes, I would. I don't want everybody to get cancer. I want people to go on and live their life, and I want people to use maybe my experience to be like, well, this could happen to you, so let's live your life as much as you can. But I still have that feeling of, if I'd love to just take away their pain and just not allow them to experience what they're experiencing right now. And like, why can't we just share pain like that? And just, if everyone just had a tiny little bit of pain, then there wouldn't be one person who's completely broken. Think of their family, think of their friends. Like, it's so hard for them. But survivor's guilt is just something that's just, it's there, and it's so hard for people to get their head around it. Like, my mum would be like, she would find it very hard, and she's trying to keep me straight and narrow, and she's like, but you're different, and you have to focus on you. And I'm like, I know that, but I can't help but think about all those other people.
Of course. I can't imagine, because I've spoken about the guilt of not having it at all, of maybe working in a scene and watching people go through it, and like, you would sometimes stand back and be like, why you and not me?
Yeah.
But I can't imagine having gone through the same, having a shared experience with somebody, and then watching it take a different turn. I know if I was in her shoes, I would be so proud of someone for going for it, because you wouldn't want someone else to go through what you're going through.
Yeah.
It's and it's not easy for you to speak about it, Martine. Like, I can't imagine, like, you're working in the area now as well. How is that to, like, use the word that so many people fear on a daily basis?
Yeah. Look, I really had to think about taking a job in breast cancer awareness, because I work for a charity now, part-time. Well, I do my own part-time stuff, but I had to really think about it. Like, is this going to be triggering for me? And I thought, well, I want to be an advocate. I have been an advocate for breast cancer awareness and your health. And what better way to do it than to work for a charity, to do something even more bigger behind the scenes. So before I took a job with them, I was a community ambassador, meaning I would go out into corporates and just talk about breast cancer awareness, share my journey and share what the charity are doing. And it was great, because not that you desensitize, but I thought by sharing my story more and more and more, it's actually helping me realise what had happened. Because when I went through it, I definitely separated my mind and body. And I thought, if I separate my mind and body, my body goes through the treatment, my mind could be in Hawaii somewhere.
Oh, okay.
So I really separated my mind and body, and it was probably the start of that I done unintentionally, when I had that out-of-body experience, when I heard cancer to begin with. And I thought how, not easy, but how it allowed me to cope with the whole process. Since I've come out the other end, I'm trying to put my mind and body back together again and start listening to my intuition and listen to my gut and everything, and my heart and my head. So that's been a whole journey in itself, because I remember sitting going like, why am I not crying?
Yeah.
I obviously haven't processed what's happening. So I would sit and I would go through things, and I'd read my journal and I'd look at photographs, and I was like, I actually can't cry. But like, since I put my mind and body back together again, all I do is cry when I talk about it. So I know I'm back together as one.
You're all there, yeah.
As a whole, doing this already, I can go behind the scenes and I can work to make a really, like, have a big impact, because I always knew that I wanted to work to do more for the breast cancer industry, community, charity, whatever you want to call it. And I just want to feel like I'm giving back. So I've got all this from breast cancer research to date. The fact that I'm sitting here and I can say I'm cancer free is due to the researchers, the donors, and everyone who put their hands in their pockets, who worked on science in the background, who have collaborated together. So I feel like I'm doing my part in that industry. Now, will I work in a breast cancer industry my whole entire life? Probably not work for one, but I'll always be associated with one, and I'll always help in that way that I can. So by taking up that job, I hear every day that 57 Australians are diagnosed every single day. 9 Australians lose their life to breast cancer every day. We hear stories of people who've lost their mum, their sister, their daughter, their best friend to breast cancer, and they're now donating and they're doing these triathlons and whatever. And I sit there and sometimes I think, like, is this triggering me? How do you feel right now? Does this make you want to A, run away, or B, work harder? And it makes me work harder, so I know I'm in the right place for now. But I really did have to think about that before I took any job. And I remember Sean saying, like, if you come home and you cry and you're feeling this way, like, I'm not having it, like, you're leaving work and I'm telling your boss you're not going back. But they're so supportive and they're so lovely, and they understand my background. They know everything about me.
Better than any employer.
Better than any employer. And I feel like even when I was interviewing, I felt like I knew them all already. So it was really, really easy, and it felt like the right thing to do. And I'm loving doing what I'm doing, and I just feel like I'm doing my part. Like, I want to do my part for history, because I want, like, say in the next 10 years for a trial what's happening now, or the money that I'm fundraising that goes towards a trial that will then be available to patients in 10 years' time. That's going to affect my family, my generation, my sisters, their kids. That's going to affect everybody. So I feel like it's giving back.
So meaningful.
It's meaningful, it's purposeful. I've never worked in charity in my entire life. I remember starting, the language that I was using, like, my work ethic, like, was completely different to what was happening in the organisation, and I had to really adjust.
Really?
I just felt like, because I was in sales before, in recruitment, and I was like, bam, 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 you know. And I remember my first day working, and, like, the girls were having a chat behind me, and I thought, is this a test? Like, should I be talking? Should I be working? Like, trying to really adjust to it all. And I just feel like it's a really nice environment. People do work hard. You definitely work really hard, not for profit. But I get to see hands-on. I've been to 3 lab tours. I've seen exactly the research that they're doing. I've seen breast cancer cells on a screen. I've, like, been able to look through a scope thing, whatever they're called, I forget, and see how treatment is affecting people and what they're doing. And I just think it's incredible. It's so interesting.
And it has to be really healing as well, I suppose, to, like, come full circle and then see what maybe you didn't understand at the time, because it's all happening so quickly and it's happening to you. Yeah. And now you're, like, part of how it changes and how it impacts other people. That's such a beautiful full circle moment. Yeah. And then the move to life coaching and mindset coaching, obviously anyone listening will be like, well, you're already doing it. I always find that with people. Like you said, your higher self came through and was like, write your gratitude list. It's generally prepping you for the next thing that's coming into your life anyway. But how was that transition, and, like, what drew you towards life coaching, mindset coaching, that whole world?
I remember taking... I knew I wasn't meant to be in recruitment, and I knew that before I got sick. Okay. But the, little Miss Independent in me that was like keeping to the rules, that you work in a corporate organisation, you work your way up, you make your money, you go home, you cry about your job. That was your life. That was meant to be it. And then I took off some months when I was going through treatment, and I went back to recruitment, and I was just sitting there like, this is not where you're meant to be. Wow. I remember saying to myself, you are coasting because your employer has been incredibly supportive to you, and I could work where I wanted, when I wanted, what I wanted to do. No one questioned anything that I done. They kept my salary. I'm still in a management position, and I honestly had everything at my fingertips, and people were like, why would you leave that? And I thought, well, because I don't want to coast in life. It doesn't fill my cup. I'm not happy. I just don't want to be here. And when I resigned, my boss was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah.
You knew yourself.
Yeah. I just knew. Yeah. And then I went on this wild goose chase of, what do I want to do? I knew I wanted to work in breast cancer or do something for breast cancer. But I loved helping people, and I loved spreading awareness. And throughout that COVID times and all that, I still felt I was helping other people. And I love seeing people's inner strengths and qualities that they don't see themselves. And I love motivating people and keeping people accountable and checking in on people. And I was like, this is something that I would do for free any day of the week. So how can I make this a job? What can I do? And I'll be really honest with you, I used to think life coaching was a bit like a fluffy thing that people done. until I looked at who was in my life that I would probably say are my life coach indirectly. And then I thought, well, I feel like I'm that to some people as well. So how can I reach this further? Like, how do I get into this? What do I need to do? And it was, you know, Fionnuala Doherty, now Fionnuala Wiley. She says, I think you'd be amazing life coaching. I was like, really? It's not like a fluffy job. And she sent me the details of a course she'd done. And I thought, do you know what? Like, why not do it? And I remember setting up a payment plan because I thought, well, how am I meant to afford this? I've no money in the bank. I am absolutely skint. And I started doing like nannying here and there and little bits and bobs just to like get some money, come by, was studying. And then when Sean went, he had to go home because his granny was sick in November. And that's when I really panicked about having like an income, like a stream of income. Because I thought if he's not here, he's only unemployed, who's self-employed as well. So when he's here, we're not making any money. So financially, I need to get into some type of job. And that's when I explored the opportunity of working in breast cancer for the charity. And then that helped me fund the rest of the course while having the guaranteed income. And I feel like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. So transitioning into there was a bit scary. And you know, you ever feel like you want to dumb down what you're doing for people who won't understand? I remember my mummy saying, so what is this course you're doing? Like, what is life coaching? And I tried to explain it, and I could just see her, like, the furries, like, were just taking it away from her. And she was like, so how much money does that make? Like, that's their mindset. Yeah. And I just said, like, it just, honestly, it could make any amount of money, but money is not important to me. And it's working with people and having that connection with people and helping as many people as possible. And so I'm not like completely set up in the life coaching right now. I'm still finding my feet and like little pro bono clients that I'm working with. I'm working in the breast cancer space, and then I still do my talks on the side, and I feel like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I'm doing a few other little things in the background that I've just been keeping quiet and working on silently. And I just can't wait to like see myself in a year's time and where things are going to be. But I don't want to put pressure on it. And I have to have this set up at this time. I have to do this by this time. I want things to be a bit organic because I still want to enjoy life. Enjoy the process of it all. Yeah, I want to enjoy the process, exactly. And it's the journey to get to somewhere is most enjoyable. Like, who cares about a medal at the end of a marathon? I don't care about the medal. It's that process of getting there, the training and what you learn about yourself and the journey that you're on. Yeah. So I'm just enjoying the journey to get there, and I don't have an end goal per se of who and what and who I want to be. My end goal in life is always for three things: breast cancer awareness and health. Be your own health advocate. Like, do not wait for a cancer diagnosis to start living the life that you want, just to be internally happy, and to find your inner happiness and your true self. Because there are things, if I could go back in my 20s and know what I know now, I just think, how much more could I have experienced in my life? Not achieved, experienced. I love that. I wish I'd done Everest when I was 22, not 32, and like after a cancer diagnosis, because then what could I have achieved after that and experienced after that? Like, I could have done Kilimanjaro. I've always wanted to do a safari. So all these things are on my list, and I'm not waiting until I'm in my 60s to do my bucket list. I'm doing them all now. Sean's like, what do you want to do now? What is next on your list? And my mummy has completely banned me from doing any more hikes. Really? You're never allowed to hike in the mountains again. Really? You want to do Kilimanjaro? I love that though, and I think it's so important because it's born of your experience. So I mean, like that like shaking up your life and it taking a complete turn in a direction that you didn't think it was going to go has made you do all this stuff. And I think there's a lot of 20-year-olds, like, I don't think any of us really lived in those years. Your priorities are just so different, but it's so inspiring to hear someone say, like, don't wait for a cancer diagnosis, don't wait for a big life moment that shakes you to your core to like start living. And the other thing I'm really reflecting on as you speak is just how
you're both passionate and purposeful. So they'll say that someone with passion, like the best employees, the best, like the most successful, quote unquote, successful people, if they're passionate, it doesn't take you very far because you just have loads of fire and no direction. And then you can be very purposeful, but without passion, it's not going to be driven very far. But both of them together make somebody that is incredibly impactful on the world. And I can really feel that from you. It's a passion and it's giving you purpose. You're getting reward from what you're doing. So I can see you light up when you speak about it, and it's really, really beautiful to watch someone step into that purpose and that alignment. Yeah. And the other thing that, like, even speaking about the life coaching, it's obviously feeding into all parts of your life right now. Like, it's feeding into your job at breast cancer awareness. It's feeding into your community. Like, when I heard you speak that day, you speak so eloquently and like so you're very emotive, like, how to get people going. And I can only imagine that all comes through life coaching as well. Like, you're putting all parts of you together, which is beautiful. But something that I always say to people who, I'm pointing like the bed is there, but it's not here, when they're in sessions, is the people who've experienced the depths of trauma and the darkness have the biggest capacity to hold light for people because they know what it feels like. So your ability to hold someone in something that feels so overwhelming for them, but you're the pillar, you're the stronghold, I think it's such a gift, and you've taken so much from it. It's beautiful. You've answered. I was going to ask you what you would say to somebody who might feel like they're soul searching right now. I loved your 3 points. Is there anything closing or anything you didn't get to speak about today, Martine, that you would like to send us off with?
Oh, I could talk for hours.
I'd love to have you for hours.
I don't off on a tangent. I'm like, have I
not at all? Oh my God.
Everything
was just beautiful. But
yeah,
if there's anything that you didn't get to say or anything that you would like to close on.
I think just you need to put yourself first in your health. I always use an analogy about a car analogy. So, like, if your brake lights come on, what do? Take your car to the mechanic. If you have an oil spill, you take your car to the mechanic. Your car is your vessel, but your body is your vessel. And the difference is you have many cars in your life and you've only got one body. And make choices every day that's going to help you and your body and your mind. Like, just prioritize yourself. I just stress that if I didn't go to the doctors when I did, if I left it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 2 years,
it would be very different to him.
I might not be here. And that's the reality of it. Like, I had never felt a lump in my breast. Then all of a sudden I had 3. I had spread to my lymph nodes. It was very fast. And I might not be, like, I possibly could not be sitting here right now to tell this story. So it's scary going to the doctors, it's scary going for these tests. But the way, just how advanced research is right now, I hope that I'm an example that if you do feel in a lump, I'll give you a bit of motivation to go to the doctor and get it checked in the first place. And look, if it is cancer, go through the treatment, go through all of that, because you can come out the other side. And I hope I'm a living example for that for anybody who has experienced it. And just try to surround yourself with positive people that want to think like you, that behave like you, or who you want to become. We are an average of 5 people we spend our time with, and had I not have maybe been in the right company at the time, or all these scenarios, like, I might not have went to the doctor, I might not have, all these things happen for a reason. But just prioritize yourself, surround yourself with positive people, and just live life, because you get one life and you get one body, and just they're your priority.
You can't wait to die to start living. Or like,
exactly.
Yeah, it's wild, and it is that early detection piece, and I think that's something that you massively advocate for, which I said to you before we started rolling. It was so healing to see you and everything you've done, because I didn't get to see that in palliative care, and that was something that was always hard. So it's been such a lovely conversation for me to hear as well, and just everything you've done with it. And the other thing that I would massively take is people are listening with partners and like friendship groups and everything, but they'll often say, like, pick a partner who can go through the shit with you, not the one that you can just have a good time with. And yes, you and Sean might have great time together now, but pick somebody who can sit in the darkness with you as well. And yeah, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It was such a lovely conversation and just so inspiring. I think people, like I've been saying through all of these, it's like the conversation, it's the real life example that makes you actually do something. Like, you have to sometimes pull at people's emotions to get them to take action, and I think by you sharing your story, you massively do that. Like, I know I am in the shower checking, and like more, I used to just do it on the first, but actually since I've started listening to you and following you, I do it way more often because I'm just way more proactive. So I hope people take from that as well. But thank you so much, and for all the work you do and for all the women's lives. I know that it's not just advocacy, I know that you support people in it as well, which is not an easy thing to do when you've gone through something yourself, but I know you're there on that end, and you've just made such impact with something that was so difficult at the time. So thank you so much.
Thank you for
being here. I'll leave all your links and your socials, and people, I know lots of people know you already. Most of the podcast listeners are either in Sydney or they're at home in Ireland, but I just can't wait to see what's coming, because I feel like it's just going to continue very organically and naturally to grow and evolve into something that's so you, and just born of love and experience and wisdom. So it's going to be amazing. Thank you so much, Martine.
Thank you.